Hi, everyone, and good afternoon. I hope you're well. Welcome to another Diferencia virtual tasting. This one is, of course, all about unseen Uruguay. My backdrop here is vines in Uruguay, so I'm very on theme there. And I'm delighted to be joined by Amanda Barnes, Gaby Zimmerman from Traversa, Bruno Bresesti and Santiago Degasperi, the latter two gentlemen from Bresesti and Nakkal, respectively. It's fantastic tasting we've got lined up today. Really looking forward to the wines that we've got on show today. And just before we get into the tasting, I just wanted to mention one other thing as well. Please do keep an eye out for a press release next week. You may have the chance to actually visit some of the producers we're talking to today in Uruguay. We've got a fantastic competition we're going to be running where you can win a place on a discovery trip to Chile and Uruguay. More details coming next week, but yeah, keep an eye out for that because it's all open. Anybody can win that. Anyway, without further ado, I'll hand over to Amanda, who is going to be leading the session today.
To webinar. So sorry, Aaron, I forgot that I actually had to physically come into the webinar, but I'm glad. I'm happy to find it.
Yeah, I think everybody's there now, aren't they? It's always the same with technology, isn't it?
You make it in front of the computer and you think you've done all the directions that you need to navigate, but no. Anyway, now we're in.
No, thanks everyone for joining me. It feels like a bit of deja vu there, didn't it? We had that before, but there we are. We're all here. No problem.
It was an absolute pleasure to be doing this tasting again today. I'm back in sunny England, actually. It's finally sunny. And all of our winemakers and wine experts are joining us from Uruguay, which I think is probably the coldest winter day, Santiago has just told me. What did you say, Santiago? -2?
Yeah, -2 here at the winery today.
So we can't complain about the British summer today. I did earlier this week, but certainly not today. But Uruguay is absolutely one of my favorite wine countries in South America. It is a beautiful country to visit. If you haven't visited, you really should put it on your bucket list because it's just a little oasis of peace. And it's just such a pleasurable place to be with wonderful Uruguayan people who are so warm and full of welcoming heart and culture. I really like to kind of open up with Uruguay, just kind of mentioning the big differences with Chile and Argentina, because when we think of South America, we often think of those continental and very arid, dry climates that we get in Chile and Argentina, and Uruguay is completely different. We like to call Uruguay a little piece of the old world in the new world because its climate is much more similar to those of Europe. It's much more similar to Bordeaux or Galicia, depending on the year. We get about 1,000 millimeters of rain on an annual basis, which kind of puts it quite close to England in terms of rainfall. And we get this very Atlantic, maritime, coastal influence, which we're going to start talking about when we go through the wines and talk to our lovely team of Uruguayans here today. So we're actually going to start with Gaby and in Vina Salort. So welcome, Gaby. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I thought maybe you could start by kind of painting a picture of the history of Uruguayan wine, because obviously you're a great communicator of Uruguayan wine as well. And Vina Salort has a nice history as it fits into the history of Uruguayan wine. So can you paint a bit of a picture for us?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, Familia Traversa is one of the biggest wineries in Uruguay and one of the first producers that start producing winery here professionally and quality wines. And the story of Uruguayan wines is the story of immigrants from the Península Ibérica, from Spain, from Italy, and they started the immigrants, although everyone has a grandparent or a father, mother. My mother is Italian, for example, and she came to Uruguay and she had all this knowledge about producing wines. And some of those families started a business, and that's the story of Familia Traversa as well. Carlos Domingo Traversa came to Uruguay in 1904 and with his parents, and they bought a small land in Montevideo, And then with his wife, that is Maria Josefa Salort, that's why the wine called Viña Salort started the business. And now is the fourth generation of Familia Traversa that works in the winery all together. It's they live real near close the winery, so it's something that always amazed me, that they live around the winery and they really breathe the vineyard and the wine production.
Excellent. That's one thing that I absolutely love about Uruguayan wineries and visiting the wineries, is this really strong family connection. I don't think there are many wine countries in the world really where you get such a strong family identity in each of those wineries. It's still very much part of the family activity, isn't it?
Yes, I do agree. Exactly. Yeah.
So we're going to be starting with what I think is one of the kind of rising stars of Uruguay, something that everyone should absolutely have on their list if they don't already, Albarino. Tell us, Gaby, give us why do you think we've had this? You know, Albarino was only first planted less than 20 years ago, and we've really seen this great kind of explosion of Albarino. Almost everyone, you know, is starting to produce it. Why has Albarino really taken off in Uruguay?
Yeah, as you mentioned before, we have a similar climate to Rías Baixas, to Galicia, and with a lot of rain. And Albarino, it really thrives here because of its characteristics of the grape, that it's cell, and it really works well with Uruguayan viticulture because of its thick skin, and it really has the power to become a great wine here. So a lot of the wineries started to plant the Albarino. Yeah, I have it also here. And it works really well in Uruguayan climate. And also we have the coast, so it really works, the Atlantic coast, it really works really well with our food here, with seafood. So it's a good match.
Absolutely. And I'd love for everyone to kind of get involved with this tasting. Give us your comments. Please send us questions on the Q&A. I'd like to know what you think of the wine. If you have any questions for Gaby about the wine. I mean, I think this kind of rise of Albarino has been incredibly important for Uruguay in showing the other side, because obviously we've got a lot of Tannat, which we're going to be tasting next. But I think, you know, the first two wines that we're tasting from you today are real classics, bona fide classics. Even though Albarino is a new classic, I think it is a classic of Uruguay already. You get that nice salinity, that nice kind of peachiness come through. Tell us a little bit about the different expressions of Albarino, because in this case, this is coming all from Canelones, I believe. So can you give us a bit of an insight as to the differences that we find? We have a lot of Albarino also in Maldonado. How do you think that kind of expresses differently in Canelones over the other regions?
Yeah, mostly because of the primary fruit aromas. In the Canelones region, we can find more peachy and those kind of notes. And on the east is more like white fruit, and the acidity also it's higher in the east. And also in Canelones, the Albarino develops a greater palate, more volume on the palate. So that's some of the differences we can find between Albarino from Canelones and the east side of the country.
Excellent, fabulous. And the first Albarino was actually planted there in Canelones and Montevideo. Yeah. So, you know, it's got a nice history connecting it to the area. Tell us a bit about the vinification of this wine. How is it made?
Yeah, it's in stainless steel, and it's really a straightforward wine. It's really fresh, and it looks to develop all the fruit of the Albarino and the typicity of the grape. And yeah, it's fresh and classic Albarino young style.
Do we have any lees contact?
No, it doesn't have.
Fresh stuff, brilliant. A nice, youthful, fresh, lovely, refreshing Albarino. Nice way to start our seminar this afternoon. So now we're going to move to another great classic of Uruguay. We cannot miss Tannat. Give us a potted history of Tannat, because it's actually been planted in Uruguay. It's one of the oldest grapes for Uruguay. Can you tell us a bit about how Tannat came into Uruguay and you know, why you think it's spread so well throughout the regions of Uruguay?
Yeah, well, it came by Pascual Arriague was the person that is known for bringing Tannat to Uruguay. It was a French person that came to the country with the grape, and it started in the north of the country. He planted first there in Salto, and then it spread all over the country because it suited as well as Albarino in recent years. Was before the same story with Tannat. So they started to plant it in the south, and yeah, because of its thick skin and the richness of the fruits, the aromas, and it went really well for the producers they started the winemaking, and people really like it. So it was a great success for the country.
Super. I think Tannat's been like the backbone of the red wines of Uruguay for, you know, 150 or so years now, you know, always providing that color, that acidity, those incredible tannins, because Tannat as a variety has, you know, 3 times more tannins than most of the red varieties. It's got, you know, really great antioxidants, so excellent for your health if you want to kind of have a glass of Tannat a day. But more seeds as well, so much more tannic. Tell us a bit about the production of this, because I do think Uruguay has really mastered Tannat in the sense that it's not as rustic as it used to be. When I first went to Uruguay, it was quite a tough grape to be drinking, but you know, I can already tell this is going to be quite kind of soft and perfumed. So tell us a bit about that winemaking journey with Tannat, and then if you can introduce
with all the story about with winemakers here in Uruguay. They really started to invest in Tannat and to learn how to tame the tannins, and Tannat has a great diversity here in Uruguay in concrete tanks, in amphora, and you can find a lot of different styles of Tannat, and this has been proven over the years with the different styles, and also because of the good tannins and the round of the tannins that now is associated with Tannat. We don't find those harsh tannins that were mostly known for the grape. So it's been a really nice journey for Uruguayan winemakers to learn how to tame Tannat. So I think it's an ability and a virtue, and something that winemakers really need also to communicate more, because I believe some people has the old idea of Tannat, and it's completely old. So yeah,
we're going to be tasting a very contemporary Tannat right at the end. So we will ask Santiago, the winemaker, about that experience. Can you briefly tell me about the winemaking for this one, Gaby? Can you just tell us how this one's made?
It's made also in stainless steel, and this remains in barrique, in French barrique, from 3 to 6 months.
Super. Yeah, it's got a nice little bit of kind of chocolate and spice going on there in the nose.
Yeah, exactly. Rich.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. We've got 3 questions here for you, Gaby. So first of all, Rachel wants to know, what are your top 3 words to describe Tannat if you're trying to sell it to someone in a shop? What are the 3 words that you would use?
What a cool question. Intense, rich, and elegant.
Excellent. I would add energy to that.
Energy,
and like,
because of
there's always lovely freshness and vibrancy.
Exactly.
Great acidity.
The natural acidity of Uruguay. We can find natural acidity because of our maritime climate here. So it's really fresh. The wines are really fresh.
Fabulous. Mark wants to know, what are your favorite food pairings for both of these wines, the Albarino and the Tannat?
Well, for the Albarino, seafood and also light salads, some chicken as well. And for the Tannat, well, we are here, we love beef, so barbecue, and also stews and rich foods that pairs really well with Tannat because of the characteristics we talked before about the grape and this wine particularly.
Excellent. Yeah. If anyone likes their steak, Uruguay is one of the best places in the world to eat steak. They have 3 times more cows than people, and all of those cows are grass fed. So it makes for really beautiful barbecues, which I highly recommend. And I get in a lot of trouble with my Argentine friends for saying that the steak is better in Uruguay, but I do believe it is. Scott wants to ask, so there's lovely ripeness to this wine. There's a real kind of the berry note.
Yeah, juicy.
Is that a late picking? Do they tend to kind of leave it to hang longer on the vines?
Yeah, I mean, these grapes comes from different vineyards, and they select on the different stages of the grapes to blend it and to reach this kind of richness as well. Yeah.
Fabulous. And then one more slightly more technical question from Raj, which we can also push over to the winemakers later if you prefer. But is the Tannat in Uruguay a pre-phylloxera clone? It would be, wouldn't it?
Well,
pre-phylloxera, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know actually. So let's ask
Santiago about the Tannat.
Yeah, he must know.
Hopefully he's hearing and he's got time to research if he doesn't.
Yeah, just Google it. Yeah, no, I don't think you can Google that. But
well, we'll give Bruno and Santiago have a little bit of time.
Yeah, Bruno is an engineer, so he must know.
Raj, we will come back to that question and hopefully have an answer for you soon. Fabulous. Gaby, just one last comment from Joe here, that the wines, that lovely delicious, that texture and freshness of the Albarino and the really nice kind of fruitiness and carefully managed tannin that's coming through on the Tannat. So you've impressed them there in Worcestershire. I can't say I've lost my English pronunciation. Worcester. Don't kill me, Joe. It's been a long time living in South America. Yeah. But anyway, that's fabulous. Brilliant. I'd like to welcome Bruno to join us now. If he can come into the room so we can move on to his questions as well. And thank you so much, Gaby, for talking us through those beautiful classic wines. A great way to start the seminar.
Thank you.
Bruno, welcome to our, we've lost you, Bruno, come back.
Bruno.
He's gone to research that question. Bruno, come
back. He's Googling.
Excellent. Richard here says that he loves the chocolatey notes on that Tannat as well, Gaby.
Can you hear me?
Yes, no, you've gone again. There you are. Stay with us. Stay.
Here.
It
How
looks
are
like
you, Amanda?
your car, Bruno. How are you?
All good.
Excellent. So we're looking at your family winery, and I'm really happy to have you here because I think you're one of the real young winemakers to keep an eye on, to watch, and I love seeing the journey that you've done within the family winery in kind of in modernizing some of the production and bringing very contemporary styles of wine. Can you tell us a little bit about your family history and how that experience has been coming in as the new generation and innovating with your family story?
Sure. The thing started in 1937. It's will be 80 years soon. So like many stories, my great grandfather, he came from northern of Italy. And then he started to work here it's the outskirts of Montevideo that we call Montevideo Rural. So he started there in that place and built the the winery. That's the main building that we use today to make the whole thing. At the beginning they don't have a vineyard itself. So my my parents, first generation, they bought a field in Las Violetas region that now it's very very popular from the soils and I call like it's the Napa Valley from Uruguay because it's like all vineyard.
Yeah, it really is. It's the hot spot that everyone wants to be in Canelones. It's kind of one of the Grand Crus, if you like.
Exactly. And well, that's our beginning as a vineyard growing. So I grew up with the vineyard because they bought in 96, 97. So for me it was like I grow with that. Different from my parents that despite being in the winery thing, the growing thing was completely different. So they start learning about that. They make mistake as anyone who starts a new thing. But for me it was like more the something that happened in every day. And then my parents always ask me if you want to continue with the business or not. Wasn't a pressure. I mean, they always give me the opportunity to keep going or not. But I start to like it then, and then I go to study in agronomy. And well, the thing is that I keep going with that. So it was after I finished my study in 2013. I fly to California, make a vintage there, and then once we came back, I asked them to start like make premium wines. So we picked like 10 rows of Tannat, and we start. That was the beginning of the. I mean, despite being all wine, from that time. In the beginning it was always table wines. My great grandparents, my parents. So then was the change, and we make a very important work in the vineyard. So that gives you a medal in Vina, France, with our first Tannat. So it pushed us to continue in that new beginning.
Excellent.
So
and that story is really quite reflective of the big change that we've seen in Uruguay since the 90s. This moving from more table wines, the big volume wines that everyone was drinking. People drink a lot of these kind of jug wines, these table wines in Uruguay, and this transition towards premium. So thank you for weaving that story in. We're going to start with a very innovative wine within your portfolio, with your orange blend. Can you tell us a bit about this and maybe give us the history of orange wine in Uruguay? I assume that there was some orange wine historically, but when has this kind of new movement towards orange wine started?
Well, I don't think it's very old in Uruguay. It started like the first time I did the first elaboration was like 5 years ago. I always like to try new things, and it was like an experimental thing for me and for the whole family. And this label is we call Corte Naranja because it's a blend between 50% Uniblanc, that is a table one variety, and Sauvignon Blanc. So that was the perfect blend, I find, for a beginner who doesn't know the style completely, because it's like it has the kind of the profile of a orange typical, but it still has acidity and freshness of a typical white. So it's a perfect match, I think. So it starts just trying, and then we keep improving it. We also restore some concrete tanks and modify them to put on a bottom door to remove the skins. And that's how it all starts. Then I think I start because all the world like start to refresh that style that has many years.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. And there's quite a movement towards orange wines. Tell us a bit about how orange wines are growing in Uruguay. Are people young people drinking them, kind of the older generations drinking them? Who's drinking these orange wines in Uruguay?
Well, the spice has many years. I mean, having labels of orange in Uruguay, the people, the consumers, I mean, it's not for everybody, and people is very, how to say it, wide in that things. They don't risk to try new things, you know. So it needs to be very a long explanation about what it is and how you should expect from that, because it's not like regular wine, or it tastes very different. So it's like for a very niche people who want to try something different. But we find that maybe like there in UK or our clients in US, they are more like they know much more of this style, and it's different the way they consume it.
Excellent. Well, I think this is a great introduction to orange wines. As you said, you know, it's got a little bit of that grit, but it's really quite kind of palatable, juicy, fresh, really like easy to drink. So a really nice intro into the orange wine styles. Scott also says that on the nose, this is so expressive and that it really opens up after a minute or two. So Scott is enjoying his orange wine. And we're going to be tasting a red wine here, and a very different variety, which we don't see too often. Can you tell us a bit about, I'm doing a terrible job with pronunciation.
It's not only you, it's for everybody has that problem.
Arinarnoa.
Arinarnoa, right?
Is that good? Okay, cool. Can you tell us a bit about Arinarnoa?
Yeah, the story of Arinarnoa, it's a variety that it's been like made in 1956 in Burdeos in France, but it's not very known in the world. But we planted with my father in 2017. 2017, yeah, and it was like from the beginning it was the idea to make it like a fine wine, you know. It was originally planted there because we had to plant a zone, I don't know how to say it, a low zone, and it has like the risk of the frozen. So it's a variety that it start the vegetation growing start late in the season. So we planted because of that, to avoid frozen risk. And then it's a variety that, as Tannat, we call here, that's like double purpose, because if you don't if you don't make any modification in the plant itself, it can give you a lot of quantity. So then you have it can be used for table wines because you have many kilograms. Not, of course, when you have many, it's not very good quality. But if you prune clusters, you reduce the production and keeps half or less the production. It turns into a very good quality grape. So that starts in that year, and for our surprise, today is one of the best wines. I mean, the one of the people choose more of our winery.
Excellent. I mean, it's showing really beautifully, Bruno. I think it's got, Rachel actually says it's got this lovely perfumed nose, which I really agree with. It's got lovely floral notes, some nice kind of fruit coming through, and then brilliant, fresh, crunchy fruit and vibrant acidity in the palate as well. What are your favorite kind of pairings for this wine?
I would like to say something before that. Is very interesting that I'm curious as well, because Arinarnoa is made of another two varieties. That one is Tannat and Cabernet Sauvignon. This is the genetic cross that creates Arinarnoa. And as you say, it's much, it's like middle body, but it's much more expressive in nose than Tannat itself. That's a very interesting thing about it.
Yeah, it's definitely lighter bodied than Tannat and Cabernet Sauvignon.
It's like it's been a good match. But regarding your what you asked me, pairing, being like this middle body thing, I think it doesn't need like probably with a strong Tannat a lot of meat, so it goes with many things, you know. Can be drink alone, or can be with I mean, it's not that straight like Tannat. Maybe probably you should match a very heavy thing to perform it better, to improve it, the feeling, you know.
Excellent. So maybe with one of your nice, very typical kind of milanesa or like pasta dishes, you know, something a little bit more in the lighter range.
Yeah, and regarding the other one, the orange, I find it very interesting to with pizza, you know. Very.
Yummy. I love the sound of that. Richard has his orange wine. He comments that he said it went brilliantly with tapas. Orange wine was a great wine for tapas, which I agree with. And that it also opens up nicely after time. So I have a couple of different questions for you. So Rachel would like to know, why do you think that Arinarnoa is not more widely planted or produced as a single variety? Is it perhaps because it's too vigorous, or is it frost? Why do you think there's not more Arinarnoa in Uruguay or elsewhere?
Well, I think that, I mean, in the world, it's like probably like Albarino happened, you know. There are many varieties created in the world. Just a few are very well known because because I mean, or they already found our place and we express in the best place, or they already does not found yet, you know. The Albarino now, as you talk with Gaby, because someone, I mean, he risked and plant in another place that used to be the original, and then probably many times it doesn't work, but sometimes it works, so you find it can work somewhere else. I think that happens with Arinarnoa also here, but there are more than you think. I mean, surface planted, but most of that goes to table wines, you know.
That's a shame, because it's showing beautifully as a fine wine. Mark also says that Arinarnoa is superb and a real point of difference. Scott has a great suggestion here, serving it lightly chilled. I actually lightly chilled mine, and I think it works really well. Lightly chilled with beef carpaccio, which I think is a really lovely suggestion for a pairing. And then Richard asks, is it a blend or a cross? And I'll quickly answer that one. It is a cross. So it is the cross of Tannat and Cabernet Sauvignon.
It's something that I always clarify, because it can be confused, that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a couple questions, one related to the orange wine from Ian. How long was that on the skins? What was the maceration time?
Good one. Generally, we did like 6 months. It's a lot of time. Like our vintage is like February, March, so we remove skins like August.
Okay.
But I mean, it's the style has not like a recipe, you know. It's up to you.
So about 5 months.
6.
6 months.
Or yeah, more or less, depending the thing, because Sauvignon Blanc is one of our first varieties we picked, and then Uni Blanc is the last one. Okay. So we elaborate that separately, and then we put it together once they are finished.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Final question. Do you know the answer about whether the Tannat clones are pre-phylloxera clones?
No, okay. Not really. It's a very good one. We also know about it.
Yeah, we're going to see if Santiago can take that one then, Raj. We're coming back to you, I promise. Fabulous. All right, well, I'll ask Santiago to join us, and we'll say thank you very much for joining us, Bruno. Really nice to taste 2 totally different wine styles. And I think, you know, really showing that kind of contemporary style in Uruguay as well, which is lovely. Thank you so much for your time, Bruno. And welcome, Santi. Santiago, can you hear?
I'm here. Yeah.
Perfect. Fabulous. Before we start, do you know if the Tannat that we have planted in Uruguay is a pre-phylloxera clone?
No, it's not. It's not The Tannat we have, no, it's not a pre-phylloxera clone. No.
So they've replanted with new clones during.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, during the reconversion. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So in the 90s, when Uruguay had the major reconversion, there was a lot of replanting with modern clones from Madiran, I assume.
Yeah. Mostly from Madiran, and yeah, this is the plants were planted in 2002. So yeah.
So your vineyard.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, super. So we're going to move on to Proyecto Nakkal. And this, you know, you've been a winemaker in different wineries and projects, and this was very much a project you started with one of your best friends. Can you tell us a bit about Nakkal, why you decided to start this project, and what the ethos of Nakkal is? Because it's quite radical for Uruguay.
Well, yeah, Nakkal, it's our project. We started in 2020. Well, also Bruno, that you have been with him before, was part of Nakkal at the beginning. And we started as a group of friends, but very focused in making wines with minimal intervention. So we didn't want to use any kind of additives at the process. We wanted to do natural fermentation, natural process of clarification and cleaning and everything. It was a challenging kind of project for us, but also trying to have like a natural expression of the grapes we have or we grow in the vineyard. We had some experiences before in different wineries. I've been working in wineries here in Uruguay, but also outside. And I had the chance to work in a biodynamic winery in the United States. So the different experiences that we had were like inspiration to make something different here, a little bit more radical, as you said, but always focus in quality and respect on the place we are growing. So always we are Nico and me, that we are the owners and the winemakers at the same time. A little bit of everything because it's a small project, so we do much everything here. But we are very focused in quality because we are also winemakers from the enology school, so we really want to have clean, nice, and pleasant wines always. Yeah.
Excellent. Santi, your internet is starting to stall.
Oh yeah. Okay.
For me, at least. I don't know if that's.
Let's see if it's working. It's working better now. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear
okay.
you.
I changed the Wi-Fi for the normal internet, and I think it's better. Sorry.
Perfect. Yeah, Uruguay.
I don't know if it's
one of the fastest internet speeds in the world, so I'm surprised that it happened. Yeah.
Hope to be helping us now.
Must be the cold. All right, we're going to start with your Nakkal, which is a brilliant project and a brilliant wine. So can you tell us NakCool, sorry. So this is a play on the words NakCool and Nakkal. So can you tell us about the NakCool movement that this is part of? Yeah,
for sure. So NakCool, it's a movement that was started in Portugal by Nipor Winery. You will probably, most of you will know about Nipor. And they started this project trying to push producers to make wines with a more like a natural way, also with cool price and low ABV, simple wines, like wines to be drink easily and fresh and clean wines. So they started in Portugal, but they wanted to open that movement to different places. And in 2021, in our second vintage, we made a few wines that at the end of the harvest, we thought, well, these wines looks like NakCools, but we don't know if we can belong to the movement or not. So we, in a very like a shine way, we write an email to them saying, well, we wanted to participate. Can we? And we sent samples. They allowed us to participate on the movement. So we are part of NakCool movement. The name of the wine is a play on words, as you say, between Nakkal and NakCool. But yeah, it's that part of the movement that we think is interesting, because at the end it's something simple to understand. It's something like less is more is one of the expressions. But the wines, it's a wine that the two wines we make with the NakCool movement are wines that we really enjoy to make.
Absolutely. And I love this one. I find it really enjoyable and fun to drink. Rachel says that it's such a pretty wine and the flavors really follow through on the palate, that it's very delicious. I also love the fact that this is a lower ABV wine. So this one's 9.5 ABV, is that correct? So tell us a bit about, a lot of the low alcohol wines are a bit boring, in my opinion, the ones that I've tried so far, without too much flavor. Tell us a bit about, how you're getting more flavor in these low alcohol wines, and a bit about the winemaking, and also what you think the potential is for Uruguay for lower ABV wines.
Well, yeah, I agree that a lot of low ABV wines are a little bit flat sometimes, but I think what we do with this wine, first of all, the vineyard is located in Montevideo. It's a vineyard that we recovered from another producer that wanted to abandon the vineyard. In 2021, we wanted to start with white grapes in the second vintage, and we looked for new places. That vineyard was about to be abandoned. We spoke with him, and now is the 4th year that we work with him during the year, and also with during vintage, for sure. So we take care of the vintage with him. It's like a partnership. And this vineyard, is 4 kilometers away to the coast of Montevideo. So it's a very fresh place. Even when the coast of the Rio de la Plata is not an ocean, but this is still fresh and windy. So we have a nice climate to grow grapes and have less ABV because it's not very hot. Also, the grapes that are in that vineyard are grapes that are not high ABV producers, high sugar producer, because we have Muscat Otonel, that is this kind of Moscatel that in the right picking point for us is the first where we pick is around 9 ABV. We also have Viognier and Trebbiano. And also Trebbiano is a grape that we like to maintain some acidity, and for maintaining some acidity, you don't have much alcohol in Uruguay. So what we do with
this is Ugni Blanc.
Yeah, it's Ugni Blanc. Yeah.
Super.
What we do with this wine is to ferment the 3 grapes separated because they have different picking points. So we do a skin contact with the Muscat because as we were speaking, it's a low ABV and fresh wine, but we want to have some expression. So what we do is we do a skin contact with the Muscat to get some expression of the grape from the skins, and we directly press the other 2 grapes to have more acidity and like a structure. And at the end of the fermentation, we blend them together. And what we think is interesting is that you compound a blend that has acidity and a little bit of a structure, but still have expression from the aromatic of the Muscat. And also something that we found interesting is when you do a larger skin contact with aromatic grapes, I think they feel better than with shorter skin contact. Like you kill a little bit some aromatics with the skin contact at the end, and I think it's more complex and not so tired. Like if you do short skin contact, sometimes it's too floral, and I think it's more balanced when you do larger skin contact.
Excellent. So how long is this in contact with the skins for the?
From 7 to 9 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I have a couple questions a little bit about the components of the wine. So Joe asks that we've seen two wines, two orange wines with Ugni Blanc or Trebbiano. So how do you manage the variety in Uruguay to stop it being too vigorous or dilute? And I think you said that you're using it for acidity. What are the main, the main reasons? What do you like about the Trebbiano?
Well, we found a vineyard that was almost abandoned, so the production wasn't too high, and we wanted to maintain that. So we control that by the pruning time. We don't want to have like much production to be diluted in the flavors, and also I think that's one of the keys, because otherwise you need to throw out some grapes before harvest to have more concentration. Something that I forgot to mention about your question is I totally think that and believe that Uruguay has potential to make wines with low ABV, mostly in the south and the east coast of Uruguay. Obviously, the north is more is warmer and have a different climate, but the south is great because we have the coast very close. We have a nice balance between rains and sunny days, and I think for me, this is a personal opinion, but for many years we have a big influence from the French style of wines that was very interesting, because we developed a quality intention of the wines, like good quality wines and very very nice wines. But now I think we are understanding the different areas, and now we understand that in some places, for example, where we have the vineyard, we have more chances to make low ABV wines than high ABV and very structured wines. So I think the differences between the different places in Uruguay now are we understand more that, and we are taking that opportunity to show the expression of every place.
Excellent. Fabulous. We've got two more questions related to the orange wine. So Viognier, we know, is normally quite a high ABV wine or grape variety. What is the challenge there, and how much Viognier? What is the blend? And then the second question is related to why it's only the Muscat that you use skin contact. Did you try Viognier and the Trebbiano as skin contact as well?
Yeah, we did try with skin contact of both grapes. This is a vineyard that it's grown with almost no any kind of additions at the vineyard, so it's a little bit sensitive about the diseases at the vineyard. So we really like to pick early to preserve the quality of the fruit, and also because we want to maintain some acidity. So as Muscat is the first grape we pick, we normally is in the best condition, and we can do a skin contact. In the Viognier and the Trebbiano, depends of the year, we can have some little issues in diseases because of the rain or something. So we try to manage a shorter skin contact and a direct press. And also we find out that we don't want to make a very classic orange wine. It's more like a white with skin contact. So we also make an orange wine that is only for Muscat and for a larger skin contact. So we want to show more like a fresher style, and also like a field blend. So we decided to do no skin contact with the other two grapes because of that reason. And about the ABV of the Viognier, we always pick earlier, as I said, and we have always like 11, but with nice acidity. So I think is a grape we pick greener, if I should say, in the 3 grapes we have.
Perfect. Excellent. I have a question here from Raj and Rachel. They're both related. So where are these orange wines? I mean, you mentioned your other orange wine, which I can totally recommend, Amphor, which is the delicious, much more orange style. So you have this quite orange style wine, and then the Nakkal, which is, you know, a light skin contact style. Where are these wines popular? You know, do you sell a lot in Montevideo, in Uruguay? Is it a certain market abroad? Where are you finding Uruguay's orange wines are really sought after?
Well, it's interesting. This NakCool is the wine we produce more quantity, so it's the wine we sell more. It's also something interesting for an Uruguayan winery, because normally it's always reds are the most sold and produced wines, but we are producing like 50% white and red, and the most produced wine is the NakCool. And the places we sell here in Montevideo, but our intern market is like a little bit less than the 10% of our production. Our biggest market is United States. We have also a big market in Japan, and well, UK, Mexico, Poland, Sweden, Peru, and Brazil. And we are open a few more countries this year. So yeah.
Excellent, brilliant. And who's the chap on the front? That's the question.
Well, we didn't find him yet, but it's if someone find it, let us know, because it was an inspiration from the designer that wanted to show a guy with the white wine, a girl with the red NakCool. It was also something that was like free, liberated to the designer to create.
So if anyone finds their doppelganger for the label, they
yeah.
All right, we haven't got long left, so I do want to move on to Suelto, which is one of my favorite Tannat wines in Uruguay. Tell us a bit about Suelto and the whole kind of ethos behind this definitely chillable, fresh Tannat style of wine.
Well, I think it's nice for the time for the season you are now as well.
My time. British summer.
Well, Suelto, it's a range of 3 wines that we make in the same way, but with different grapes. So it's a Tannat, a Merlot, and a Marcelin. So what we wanted to show in these wines is the expression of the grape and in the place. So Suelto Tannat is made with 5% of whole clusters. We always use it to have some protection and some structure during the fermentation and also in the first time of the fermentation, that is the more challenging time. We do skin contact during the fermentation, just for depend of the year, 7 to 9, 10 days. It's a natural fermentation. We always want to have extraction without losing the freshness. So what we do during the fermentation is to wet a little bit and to do really soft pump overs, not to get lot of tannins. Like we want to get the tannins from Tannat, but we have plenty of tannins from Tannat, so we think that we don't need to crush or to push as much as we do with other grapes. We also destem the rest of the grapes, but we don't crush them because they are starting to be crushed during the fermentation. That creates like a partial carbonic maceration, and that's I think express more like kind of freshness and kind of crispy side of the reds that we like. Because also we are, as I said, in a fresh place, in a fresh area. The vineyard is located in El Colorado, Canelones, is 30 kilometers away to the coast of Montevideo. and it's also windy, nice, fresh climate with rains, as you say at the first time, Amanda, with rains, as in Uruguay, we have rains. So we normally have also low ABV. We like to peak around 12, 12.5, depends on the year. Sometimes less. This year, for example, was a little bit more rainy, and we have Tannat that we are bottling now with 11.5, 11.4. So yeah, but we are not worried about that. We don't look for alcohol as like the structure. I think the acidity and the fruit is most important for us. Is the most important for us with the red wines and with the rest of the wines as well. Because as I say, also it's the thing we have. Like we believe that we want to show the face of the place where we are, and we think that that's the face, that like another other thing. So we don't want to push like to overripe the grapes or something. So that's our Tannat, and I think it's a pleasant and fruity kind of bread.
It's delicious. It's showing really well, Santiago. And I think, you know, I love this really contemporary, fresh style of Tannat that really is being pushed by this generation of winemakers, and yourself and your partner Nico being at the forefront of that. So Scott says that this is fantastic. The winemaking prowess really I can't speak now. Really jumps out. And now he's saying, where is his barbecue? Which I absolutely agree. This would be a perfect barbecue wine.
Yeah,
Not
for sure.
the meat, but also it's the kind of wine that when you have your barbecue in Uruguay with the picada, with all the kind of like the little cheeses and hams and like olives at the beginning, like that would be spot on, nice and chilled for that. I have one final question from Ian, and if anyone has a question, now is the time because we are running out of time. So Ian just wants to know, what are the SO2 levels for both of these wines?
Well, with the whites, we don't add SO2 at all. We are adding 10 milligrams of sulfites in the reds at bottling, just to maintain the wines for in what we started no adding sulfites at all in any of the wines, but we are finding out that during the years and the exports and the travels with the wines and everything, we started to research about how the wines maintain between like after all that, and we started to do some additional bottling just to take care of the wines during that temperature changes and things that wines must suffer. Any wine can suffer, but yeah, we maintain as less as possible because we like to do it that way.
Excellent. Well, they're showing beautifully. Alan says super wines and says that hopefully you are not too disappointed after Uruguay against Colombia, and if you can please support England on Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. We need a reason to forget Uruguay game from yesterday. So I will be supporting you in the week.
Excellent. Sure. Touching a nerve there, Alan. Uruguay, obviously big football country, the first to win the World Cup. So hopefully we'll see Uruguay come back with a vengeance in the next championship. Brilliant. Well, we've come to the end of our tasting. I'm not sure if Aaron's going to jump on
for sure
to say goodbye, but Santiago, thank you. I think that's been a lovely way to close, and just such a brilliant tasting with Bruno, Gaby, looking at some classics, looking at some very kind of innovative wines of Uruguay, some nice kind of low intervention, fresh, low ABV. And I think, you know, just a really nice kind of expose of what's really exciting about Uruguay today.
Yeah, it was for me. It was a pleasure to be here to share with you and with all the people that is behind the tasting and asking the question. Thank you for the question as well, because it's always interesting to feel that something is interesting or for you, and we can always be answering. And let me invite you all to come to Uruguay whenever you want. We are here and glad to have you here. Or any questions about the wines, you can contact us by like the social media or anything you need. We are pleased to help you. So.
Thanks, Santiago. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you to all of our winemakers today. Really, really, really interesting and varied selection of wines. Certainly I enjoyed tasting them, and from the questions that we've had and the comments that have been made during the whole session, clearly everybody's been enjoying them very much too. They are lovely, fresh styles, perfect for one of those blazing summer days, which of course is just what it's like outside at the moment in July in the UK. I wish. I thought we might get away without mentioning the football, but of course Alan let us down there, but never mind. Thanks again to all of you. Amanda, as always, thank you so much for your professional hosting skills. I'm so glad that you do it, otherwise it would be me. And there's just one final thing before we finish today. Thank you very much to our guests as well, people who've joined us and have tasted the wines. The only final thing to say was Santiago mentioned, that you're always welcome in Uruguay. Well, some of you might well be going to Uruguay with us next year. Keep an eye out for our incentive trip, which details will be released next week, and you can see what you need to do to be in with a chance of winning a spot. Otherwise, everybody have a really good afternoon, and we'll see you for the next tasting, which is going to be in September. More details to follow. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.